Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 26th part of What If Deku Was Sanji's Reincarnation, My Heroes Reborn. The author of this great fanfic is Emma. I believe links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 26, All for One and One for All. Thankfully, recovery went fairly well for the four. Ida went home first and stayed with his mother. The other three left at the same time the next day. Mashareo sighed as they all left. "You ready, Mashareo?" asked Hibiki. "Yeah." He sighed. Turned out Hibiki was allowed to take over his internship so that he could salvage the rest of the week, even if it wasn't much. And Hibiki still wasn't happy with the situation. "I'm dreading the rest of the week," said Mashareo. Mashareo left with Hibiki. Once he was out of the room, Izuku slipped in Sanji mode. "Hey, how do you think the shitty-ass bastard is going to handle beating Stain?" said Izuku. Todoroki tried not to laugh. "He's not going to like that he took credit for something a group of teenagers did," said Todoroki. "Tell me all about it," said Izuku. Both of them left. "There you are," said Gran Torino. Izuku froze, slipping out of Sanji mode. "Come on, I don't have all day," said Gran Torino. Izuku sighed as he left with Gran Torino. He knew the rest of the internship wasn't going to be fun at all. It wasn't fun to begin with. But it was going to be less fun. Todoroki shrugged as he followed them outside. Meanwhile, with Bakugo, he was miserable. At first he thought Best Jeanist would help him in his goal at being a better person, and he was trying, but he kept making him fit the mold on the outside first. Not to mention all of the fabric puns. Oh dear God, the fabric puns. He knew some heroes often made puns, but this was just, ugh. He was on patrol with him with Best Jeanist. It wasn't that bad, and he was telling him about important things in heroics and patrols. Patrols are meant to be a deterrent for villains, but they have another reason. Said Best Jeanist, "Do you know what the reason is?" "Yeah. To beat up villains when they show up," said Bakugo with glee. "You're wrong," said Best Jeanist. That was when he heard the squeak of a bunch schoolgirls. "It's to give the people hope," said Best Jeanist. Bakugo gritted his teeth. "This helps weaves a tapestry of trust between the protectors and the protected," said Best Jeanist. "I think you just like getting recognized," muttered Bakugo. However, that was when a kid yelled out, "I remember him from the sports festival." Bakugo's eye twitched. Every single time someone recognized him, it wasn't good. He got toyed around and then set on fire. "It was so funny," laughed the kid. "What did you say?" he yelled as his hair, which was finally properly gelled and flatted, exploded. The kids then started to cry. "Have you forgotten the things I've taught you?" he asked. Bakugo sighed. He had been giving him some good advice on being a better person. But some was the key word. "Talk to them like a pro," said Best Jeanist. Bakugo took a breath. "What would a good person say?" thought Bakugo. "Look. He wasn't toying around with me. Sometimes a hero has pretend to be weak. The only reason why I lost was because he's insanely powerful because of dumb reasons. You'll eat those words when I'm the new number hero. You dumb kids will never laugh at me again if you know what's good for you," he yelled out. The kids started screaming even more. Bakugo's eye twitched as he realized that he screwed up and was mentally face-palming. He had a long way to go to being a better person. Meanwhile, with Toru, she sighed. She making a ton of cupcakes for Yuzu as one of her punishments, as many as possible. It helped it that Yuzu needed to eat a lot, but still, it was a punishment and she knew it. "All right. I need a batch of red velvet. Next. And make the cream cheese frosting real," said Yuzu. "I know," sighed Toru. Yuzu sighed. She didn't like it either. But she did have to punish Toru. With Achiko she was having another sparring session with Hana. Achiko was mostly dodging. Hana's quirk was quite versatile, as she was able to create any flowering plant, while roses were her go-to flower. She could even make trees and vines. If she used her quirk it could be anything, and what's worse is that sometimes she would use decoys in the spars just to keep her on her guard. She saw the shield open up, she was ready to dodge and hoping it wasn't a daisy or a daffodil again. Turned out it was a wisteria, and she barely dodged the large woody vines. Thankfully this was also something she could use in the spar. She managed to dodge another spray of water, but was a decoy as English daisies popped from the floor. However, she used the wisteria as a leverage to jump into the air. However, it turned out she was too fast for Hana's reaction and she managed to slam her palm into her chest, causing the pro hero to float. "Looks like you won this spar," said Hana. "Yeah," said Achiko. She let her down. "We need to clean up," said Hana. She looked at the wisteria. "Do you think you can fetch the chainsaw?" Any plant she grew didn't die until it either died via natural death or it was destroyed. There was another reason why her main weapon was roses. They were fairly easy to clear after a fight. "Of course," said Achiko. Meanwhile at Chuko's agency, Momo was still taking out her anger. The poor dummy. "Are you sure you don't want to use my method getting out your rage?" asked Chuko, now wearing a very pale pink dress and matching hat. No. It would take a lot of practice for me learn it," said Momo. "I guess you have a point," said Chuko. "I guess because it was a past life skill it just came easy to me." "Wait. That was a past life skill?" asked Momo incredulously. "Of course," giggled Chuko. The image of an actual queen doing that was just bizarre. But kind of awesome. Chuko giggled at Momo's reaction. At Hibiki's apartment, as that where he was working at the moment, was making sure that Mashireo was going through some files. He asked not to tell Izuku or Bakugo what he was researching. Investigation of Aldera Junior High. "There is something wrong with this school," muttered Mashireo. It was even worse than his past life's junior high school, that was an all-boys school that let everyone fight for the breads. There was a cover-up, or a girl with a weak quirk was beaten pretty badly. "That school enabled him," said Hibiki. "I see what you mean," said Mashireo. "Ugh," said Aiko. "Is your side project working out?" asked Hibiki. Hibiki was told about Stain's internet infamy and how people were starting to admire him. Thanks to Aiko and her mastery of memes, she was trying to take down Stain's popularity her own way. While trying to convince people that well he's a freaking murderer isn't going that great. But someone turned my meme around on me. Granted they don't know I was the creator of the initial memes, but they still turned it around on me. "What do you mean?" asked Hibiki. Both Hibiki and Mashireo's phones beeped. They picked up their phones and sweat dropped at the meme in front of him. It was one of the shots after Stain saved Izuku with the caption, "He saved the cinnamon roll. If I could right now, I would facepalm," said Aiko. "How about you get your mind off it and find some more material from the school?" said Hibiki. "Fine," sighed Aiko. "I've been having way too much fun with finding dirt on a certain homeroom teacher." Both Hibiki and Mashireo didn't like the tone of voice that Aiko had when she said that. "Are you sure she's not going to turn evil?" asked Mashireo. "Don't worry, if she ever does I have some contingencies," said Hibiki. But soon enough the week was over and Izuku was saying his goodbyes to Gran Torino. "I know we haven't been together for long, but I wanted to thank you everything," said Izuku. "What are you thanking me for?" said Gran Torino. "If it wasn't for your advice I never would have figured it out," said Izuku, becoming depressed. "Granted now I have a new problem. I don't know how bad the mental blocks are or if they'll cause problems in the future or how much I'll forget during a fight. I mean I only forgot armament hockey and Diable Jam." That was when Gran Torino whacked him with his cane. "I get it. You have mental problems, but that comes with being an incarnate. I've heard stories about those hit by that quirk. It's a miracle that a kid like you were able to bounce back from it. Scolded Gran Torino. Izuku sighed. I'm sure you know this, but it will take a lot heck of work if you want to be the greatest hero like All Might, then you have a lot learn. Said Gran Torino. Yes sir. Said Izuku. See you around. Said Gran Torino. Wait, there's a question I need to ask you. I mean, I should have asked sooner, and now's not really a good time. Said Izuku. Out with it. Use your more confident personality if you have to. Gran Torino. Why the hell haven't I heard of you before? Asked Izuku in Sanji mode. Okay. I think I like the other personality better. Said Gran Torino with a sweat drop. Sorry. Said Izuku blushing, but considering you're super strong and you trained the #1 hero, you're not super famous. Is there a reason for that? Oh, that's an easy one, I was just never that interested in work as a pro hero. Said Gran Torino. Seriously? Asked Izuku surprised. There was a point in my past where I was able to use my quirk freely, that's why I got my license. Said Gran Torino, it might be better to hear it from Toshi. All Might, I mean, he can explain it better than me. Okay. Said Izuku. Now get going. And train harder. Hopefully you can get over that block soon. Said Gran Torino. Yes sir. Thank you very much again. Bye for now. Said Izuku. Gran Torino watched Izuku leave, thinking about how much he remained him of All Might. Hey boy. Yelled Gran Torino as Izuku walked away, who are you? Okay, you old geezer. There is something seriously wrong with you. Yelled Izuku, slipping into Sanji mode. I was trying to create a touching moment, okay? Way to ruin it. Yelled Gran Torino. Oh. I'm sorry. Said Izuku. Just didn't catch your train. Sighed Gran Torino. Yeah. Sighed Izuku, leaving. Once everyone got back to school, everyone was talking each other about how their internships went. But Coco growled, ignored everyone, stared at him. The hairstyle that Best Jeanist gave him was still stuck in its new style. He slammed his face into the desk. Hey Bakugo. Said Toru, how did your internship go? She also took out a hairdryer and pointed it at his head, which made his hair go back to normal. I don't want to talk it. He muttered. He gave her a glare, but there seemed to be a look of gratitude in it due to her fixing his hair. Makes sense. Said Toru, I can't talk about mine either, for reasons. He looked at the invisible girl, unsure if she was serious or not. Seriously, you can't talk about it? Asked Zero. I mean, everyone heard about how you had a run-in with the hero killer. So it seems like everyone in class heard about it. Said Momo with an scary aurora around her. Oh come on, I'm sure it's fine. Said Izuku. Just because you're the one I'm the least angry with doesn't mean you can calm me down. Said Momo. Well, Endeavor was the one to save everyone. Said Kaminari. Yeah, he did. Said Todoroki, trying to hide the truth. Though that doesn't explain how you two got involved. Said Kyoka to Mashireo and Toru. I don't want to talk about it. Said Mashireo. They realized it was code for I got lost again. By this point everyone in class knew about his poor sense of direction, while he did get second place because of it. I broke the law's physics. Said Toru. Everyone stared at Toru. You know, let's not question it. Said Kyoka. Did you hear though, they say he was connected to the League of Villains? Said Zero. That's just an internet rumor though. Said Mashireo, at least I hope so. Though if he was of the USJ he probably would have been beaten up badly considering Izuku. Said Sato. Izuku looked down when he said that. Did you hear about that video though? Said Kaminari, it's all over the internet. Yeah, I have, said Mashireo. Whoa, you don't seem like the type of guy to see that stuff, said Kaminari. Someone I worked with my internship was working on trying to stamp out the video's popularity as side project, said Mashireo. That makes sense, but still he might be evil, but he's tenacious, and kind of cool, you have to admire him a little, said Kaminari. That was when Izuku started glaring at him in Sanji mode. It's fine, Midoriya, said Ida. I can understand how someone can see him as tenacious and cool. However, it led him to decide that cold-blooded murder was the correct path. No matter what is his motives, killing cannot be condoned. That is why we have to strive to be the best he can be. Izuku smiled that his friend was getting back to his old self. Now class is about to begin, said Ida as he yelled out thing that made his classmates dread the fact he was back to normal. Later that day it was time for hero class, which took the form of a race to rescue All Might. It was done in groups of 5. The first group consisting of Izuku, Mashireo, Ida, Mina, and Siro. Mashireo sighed as they got ready, mostly because he was unsure if Izuku's mental blocks would affect him during. Not because he was worried for his friend, he was just worried that if the block would actually affect the race, then again chances were he would probably just end up in a different training ground. The area where the other students were watching, the 3 girls of the theory group watched together with Todoroki. They were worried about Izuku's mental blocks as well, having heard about them. Do you think it will affect this race? Said Achiko. It really depends on what he forgets, said Todoroki. From the sounds of it, during the incident he only forgot a couple things. For all we know, he might remember Skywalk and forget something else, said Toru. We'll just have to see, said Momo. Begin, said All Might, pressing a button to start the race. Izuku immediately took the sky using Skywalk. All of the classmates' sweat dropped. Of course he'd using his flying thing, said Kyoka. Actually it's in kicking the air to gain momentum, said Momo. Explain how Skywalk works. Still, he's pretty much flying, said Kaminari. Well, at least he remembered it, said Achiko. Or he got over his block really quickly, said Momo. No, that would be way too cheap considering the fan reaction, said Toru. What? Asked Todoroki. Just ignore the weirder things she says, said Momo. Of course Izuku was the first one to get to All Might, earning a sash with "Thank you for saving me" written on it. Darn it, yelled Mina. I knew he was going to win. Should have known the guy who could fly would win, muttered Siro. Did you forget anything during the race, you? Ida asked Izuku somewhat quietly. I did, but it's not important, sighed Izuku. It seemed like his mental blocks could only block 1 or 2 things at a time is the best guess how it worked, and thankfully the thing he forgot was Blue Walk, aka something he didn't use every day, as it was his crazy swimming skills. Young Midoriya might have come in first, but all of you have shown me that you've all made incredible improvements, said All Might. That was when he noticed someone was missing. Do any of you know where young Ojiro went? I just realized he's not here. Izuku sighed and took out his tracker. He's not too far away, I'll go grab him, said Izuku. Thankfully somehow Mashireo didn't get too lost as he was still on the same training ground, but he was nowhere near the finish line. Once class was completely over, All Might approached Izuku. Do you have a therapy session today? Asked All Might. Yeah, said Izuku. Meet me after then, said All Might. We have something to discuss. It's time you learn the truth about me and one for all. Okay, said Izuku. Izuku though was very unnerved by his tone of voice. Once class was over, everyone was getting changes out of their hero costumes. Hey! Look! Someone Shawshanked a hole, said Mineta. What? Asked Izuku. Do you know what's the on other side? Said Mineta. The other boys realized what it was, the girls' locker room. However, there were two sides to Izuku personality now. The sweet, shy and timid hero fanboy and the foul-mouthed, perverted pirate. The two sides of him had clashed before, none as bad as this one, and inside he was mental conflict. We shouldn't look, argued the part of him that was Izuku. Come on. There wouldn't be much a difference, argued the part of him that was Sanji. But it's still not right, said the part of him that Izuku. Oh, it's not like their costumes leave much to the imagination, not to mention you already saw Toru naked, said the part of him that was Sanji. I didn't want to, cried the part him that was Izuku. So what's the difference? Asked the part of him that was Sanji. They're still my friends and I refuse to do it, yelled the part of him that Izuku. You have to do it, yelled the part him that was Sanji. In the real world, Izuku's face turned red, a ton of steam came out of his head and then he passed out. Midoriya, yelled Ida in shock. What just happened? Yelled Kaminari. Izuku, stay with us, yelled Mashirao. Someone call recovery girl, called out Todoroki. My eye, screamed Mineta, who didn't care about the state of his classmate and tried to look anyways, but Kyoka jabbed him in the eye with her quirk. Sometime later, Izuku woke up in the nurse's office. He found the other members of the therapy group, including Hibiki and Ida there. What happened? Asked Izuku. Serve personality clash, sighed Hibiki. It's extremely rare, but it only happens in cases where the personalities between lives were so different that they disagreed on something so much it overwhelmed them. How are you feeling? Asked Momo. I'm feeling okay, said Izuku. Do you know why it happened? Asked Aiko. The students all started blushing, they all knowing it probably had to do with the peephole that Mineta had found. Of course Hibiki heard about the peephole, which meant Aiko knew. Oh, cute. You're so pure, said Aiko. At least I think you're the pure one, because damn if otherwise. Izuku sighed. Great. I have no idea how to handle it, I have to contact some heroes who do deal with this, said Hibiki. Great. I can't have the therapy session today because of it. Why? Asked Izuku. Izuku, you just passed out because a part of you wanted to peep on your classmates, said Hibiki. I need to do research on that as soon as I can. Oh come on, your personalities clash sometimes, said Izuku, entering Sanji. The part of where my personalities clash is when it comes to technology, and even then, there's a balance to it. Both sides of me don't want to throw a phone at a swan in self-defense, because I think if it hits it will electrocute it again, said Hibiki. Everyone stared at him as he just admitted one of his past incidents. So that's the thing with the swan, said Izuku as he slipped out Sanji mode. Phones don't work that way, said Mashirao. I know that now. But the point is you were so imbalanced you passed out, said Hibiki. Izuku sighed when he said that, knowing he had a point. Besides, that means we don't have to talk about you know what, whispered Toru. We're still going to have to talk about it tomorrow, said Momo with an angry aura. You're right, sighed Mashirao and Toru. Oh, thanks for checking up on me, said Izuku to Ida. You're my friend, said Ida, and I was worried. Plus he's kind of an unofficial member of the group by this point, said Achiko. He just can't attend therapy with us. Ida blushed when she said that. He does have a tracker, so I get bug him sometimes, laughed Aiko. Izuku smiled. Once he got the clear to leave the office, Izuku parted way with the others. There's something I have to do, said Izuku. It's important. Okay, see you tomorrow, said Achiko. Izuku got to the teacher's lounge and knocked the door. I'm here early, therapy got cancelled, said Izuku. He didn't get an answer and opened the door anyway. All Might sat on the couch looking grim. What happened? Asked All Might. Hibiki needs to research what happened to me, sighed Izuku. All Might nodded, hearing about him passing out. I see, come have a seat, sighed All Might. Izuku listened and sat on a stool was nearby. He knew something was going on. I heard you went through a lot recently, and I'm sorry I wasn't around for it, said All Might. It's fine, said Izuku, but my main problem is a mental blocks I have to work through. It didn't hurt me during the race, but I'm sure it will in the future. He knew now wasn't the time to explain his new problem. Did the hero killer swallow your blood during the attack? Asked All Might. I didn't forget observation haki during the fight, so he didn't get any of mine, said Izuku. Why is that important? Is that what this is about? I just wanted to reassure something. Do you remember what I said that day when I gave you one for all? Asked All Might. Eat this, said Izuku, making his face look exactly like All Might's, freaking him out. Not that part. I meant the part of about eating DNA, and that's why you had to swallow, said All Might. Izuku paled considerably. I'm so glad that I remember observation haki during the fight. If I didn't have it, then I would have, said Izuku, shaking. Don't worry about it. I just thought you might have been worried about it, but it didn't even cross your mind, said All Might. One for all can only be passed on if you, the bearer, intend to pass it along. It can't be taken by force, but it can be transferred by force. He then used a girl forcing to her senpai to take her chocolates as an example. I think we're both really bad as analogies, sighed Izuku. The quirk we have is unique and you should know its origin, said All Might. One for all has survived from another odd quirk, one that's very old. There's another quirk that's different? Asked Izuku. The name of that quirk is All for One, said All Might. It allows the user to take quirks from others, and if they so choose to, they could keep it for themselves or give it others. You mean he could steal powers? Asked Izuku. All Might began to tell Izuku about the early days of quirks and the changes it caused, and how the user of the quirk, who when its name was, became some of the rallying cry. He used his powers to gain power and control Japan during this time. Although in modern times he was considered a myth, after all it was something they could cover up and something the country was ashamed of. He did bring this up though. When someone was given another quirk, they would be driven insane, become something like living dolls unable to talk, just like those Nomas, said All Might. That explains that, said Izuku. What do you mean? Asked All Might. I didn't get attacked by the Nomu because of the mental blocks I developed. I used my observation haki to predict its moment, however it aura overwhelmed me because of how sick and twisted it was, said Izuku. Looking at it made me want to vomit, or worse. Let's not focus on that part now, sighed All Might, realizing that was something they should talk about. He began to explain about All for One's younger brother, who was thought to be curicless. Not only that, but the other younger brother was a believer in justice and wanted to fight his brother. So All for One gave him a power stockpiling for reasons unknown. But it turned out he wasn't powerless. He had the quirk to pass on his quirk to other people. And thanks to combining with the power stockpiling quirk. So now you know the origin of One for All, and the ordinary that justice is sometimes spawned by evil, said All Might. Let me guess, the guy got a immortality quirk or something, said Izuku, slipping into Sanji mode and putting a toothpick in his mouth. All Might smirked at Izuku. You're right, that's the theory. And the younger brother knew it would take a lot to stop his older brother once and for all. So he entrusted future generations the quirk. Until it was my turn and I managed to defeat All for One. At least that's what I thought. He's back and now he's the brain behind the League of Villains. Izuku sighed, still chewing on the toothpick. Now you know the truth about the quirk. To defeat All for One. And one day you have to fight against this great evil yourself. I know you didn't expect this, said All Might. I'll do my best, said Izuku. All Might was surprised by this. I'm the reincarnation of a straw hat pirate. Even though we're the bad guys of the world, we faced off against so many evil bastards trying to take over the world. Said Izuku in a sort of half Sanji mode, I've been through all sorts of stuff like this. I can handle it even when you're gone. It won't be like last time. All Might looked at Izuku when he said that. What? Asked All Might. Come on. I'm not an idiot, you're so sick. I doubt you're going to end it on your own terms, but even I can tell you don't have much time left. Said Izuku, who looked like he was about to cry. It was clear he was dealing with a past life problem while talking about it. I'm not that sick. Said All Might, trying to brush it off, but it sounds like you need to talk about it. No, it's not something I'm ready to talk about. Sighed Izuku. It's okay. Said All Might. But there is something I do need to talk about. Said Izuku. Izuku knew he had to explain his mental blocks properly. But at least he knew the truth about One for All. And Izuku knew what he had to do in the future. Then again, it was something of the Straw Hat's job to take down evil bastards like that. And hopefully when the day came he would be able to beat All for One, even if he had to do it alone. Next time, well, there's still a bit to unpack about Stain, but also a few other things in therapy, including a revelation about one of Toru's past life friends. What is it? Find out next time. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 27. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.